Welcome to Louw-Nida, tips, tricks, and secrets for Bible study and sermon preparation. Now, if you're new to the webinar, let me explain what the purpose of these webinars. First, we're going to provide training for Logos Bible software. Very key. We're going to provide training so you can study the topic for yourself. We're going to provide biblical insights related to the topic as they come up. Now, tonight's a little unique with the Louw-Nida because we're focusing just on a particular book. We're not studying a topic per se, so we won't have as many biblical insights as we normally do. And lastly, we're going to provide material so you can equip yourself and others. And with the purchase of every webinar, you get the full personal book. So let me jump over to that real quick and show you what's involved in the personal book. So when the webinar releases and you purchase the webinar, you will get this complete detailed book of all my notes. Now, this isn't just my notes. We have in here all the links to various books and resources, to the searches. We have the rules outlined. Everything is included in the webinar to make it much easier for you to use the webinar and get more out of your Logos program. So a lot of the information that I'll be showing you tonight has already been documented for easy use. And so we'll be taking advantage of that throughout the training, and you'll have that with the purchase of the webinar. So that's one of the great tools that we're including. Also tonight, something a little unique, I've started to release some of the resources that I'll be doing tonight. For example, let me go to the documents. Now, this is at Faith Life, LearnLogos.com /presentation/documents. If you go to LearnLogos, and Nathan, you've got the link, so if you want to put it out there, that should work. But these documents I've made available. So, for example, when we go to Tools, Highlighting, you will see that I have quite a few palettes with styles created. I don't want to have you go through the work of creating those from scratch like I did. So I've made those available for free download, and then I've linked, of course, the personal book to leverage those. But these palettes you can begin to download right away at Faith Life. What are the topics tonight? Well, we're in the middle of the introduction, but we're going to look at what is the Louw-Nida. Once you understand what this book is and is not, that's going to help a lot in taking this tool further. We're going to look at books that use Louw-Nida, and you'll be shocked to find out that Bibles and lexicons are not the only ones that use this information. Then we're going to prepare you to use Louw-Nida effectively in the Logos program. We're going to show you how to make observations, the 5 W's and H. That's that part of that Bible study process and sermon process that we all need to take, that initial step of observation, and Louw-Nida can help us do it more effectively, give us precision we may not have had before. Then we're going to look at some exegetical signposts, again, moving from observation to interpretation. Then we're going to show you how to use Louw-Nida for word study to help you understand range of meaning. We'll use Louw-Nida to help you discover themes using word studies. We'll do a couple of searching extras, and we'll also look at 13 theological observations. We actually won't do all of them. We'll just do a couple, and then once you get the personal book, you'll have all that information in there. So let's go ahead and get started right away with the what is Louw-Nida. One of the first things we need to learn before we jump into Louw-Nida is how Louw-Nida is different than a typical lexicon. Now, there's 3 areas we're going to look at. We're going to look at the dictionary information, we're going to look at the organization of the information, and then we're going to look at the additional information. Now, let's jump back to Logos, open up a regular dictionary and Louw-Nida, and begin to compare. And let's focus on first, number 1, dictionary information. So here we are at John 3:16, and I'm going to right-click on the word loved. Choose Lemma, choose Bible Word Study. And you've done this many times before. Now, in the Lemma section, I'm going to choose BDAG for our dictionary, and then I'm going to also open up Louw-Nida. Now, first thing we should notice is the way the information is displayed. First thing you can see is agapao as the first entry. Underneath it are various definitions. This is a standard dictionary. So we have the first definition, to have a warm regard for and interest in others. If we go down a little bit further, we can see that there's a second definition, to have high esteem for or satisfaction with something. And there's one more definition, to practice or express love, prove one's love. Now, if we go over to Louw-Nida, we're going to see only one definition, 25.43. Now, that's because the New American Standard Bible is linked to this specific number. And if we look at the definition, it means to have love for someone or something based on sincere appreciation and high regard. So if you think about it, this really matches our first definition, which is right here, agapao, to have warm regard for and interest in others. So do you see how right away in the dictionary part, BDAG is giving us all three definitions. Louw-Nida is only giving us one part. So you might be asking, where are those other two parts? And that now brings us to the second part of our outline. Let me bring that back real quick. The organization of the information. So let's go back to our dictionaries. So with the BDAG and typical lexicons, all the definitions are parked under this one lemma, agapao. Now to find where the other definitions are in Louw-Nida, we just need to do a simple search. So I'm going to right-click on agapao, choose selection, and choose search this resource. Now we get back several results, and this is key. Notice next to each word of agapao, there's a different number. There's 25.43, that's the article we've been reading. There's 25.44. 25.45 was brought back, but that word is a different form, so let's skip that. And then 25.104. So let's jump to the next definition, 25.44. Here we read to demonstrate or show one's love. Now that's very similar to probably the third definition in the BDAG lexicon. So let me jump down there. And here it is, to practice or express love. So we're seeing part of the definition in another location. Now 2544 follows 2543. So we're still in the category of love, affection, compassion under attitudes and emotions. Now let's go back to our search results and let's go to 25104 and see what we learned from there. If we read 25104, it says to like or love something on the basis of high regard for its value or importance. Well, that is very similar to the second definition in BDAG, to have high esteem for or satisfaction with something, to take pleasure in. So I think right away you're starting to see the difference in the organizational scheme. In a typical dictionary, you have the lemma and the various meanings. But in Louw-Nida, you just get the specific meaning and it has a specific number. Now, if we look closely at the organizational scheme, 25104 is in a completely different category. It's under the other part of the dictionary, the Greek-English part of it. So right away, I'm getting a list of the possible word meanings. All right, now let's jump to number 5 and let's talk about observation process. The first step in any good Bible study, any good step in sermon preparation is taking the time to make observations. Now, if any of you have ever taken an inductive Bible study course or have been taught inductive Bible study, you know how important it is to ask those 5 basic questions, the 5 W's and H. What I've done for you in the personal book is I've created the Louw-Nida equivalents to answer those questions. This is one of the most powerful features in the Louw-Nida. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me show you how to do this. So here's the first search. Now, the first search is really intense. It's search, Bible search. So we are searching our Bible. I recommend that you search one particular Bible like the New American Standard and all passages. And here's what we've done. We've taken the Louw-Nida number category 92. Category 92, let me just go ahead and open up that real quick so you can see that and how it's described. I'm going to go up to my command box. I'm going to type in Louw-Nida. I'm going to open up the index and I'm going to go to 92. Now these are discourse referentials. In other words, it's referencing a person or someone. And we're using number 92. So this is the speakers, the receptors, whom's, whole bunch of these. Now, these searches can sometimes be a little imprecise, but it's a whole lot closer than doing this any other way. And because it's a general search, you're going to get a variety of information back. Now, look at this. I also added more information to it. And this is what makes it effective. You have to use the and equals in all capital letters. What is this doing? Let me explain what the and equals does. Think of a cell, and that's what an interlinear is. Okay, so let me open up the interlinear, and let me just turn on the highlighter here. So if you think of this word they as a cell of information, we've got the English word, we've got the Greek word, we've got the Louw-Nida number. What and equals does, it says look inside the cell, find me any Louw-Nida number that starts with 92, I don't care what number follows, and also find me a place where the word they is in there. If I find both of those in the same cell, I'm going to consider that a hit and give back the results. So that's what the and equals does. And then everything else listed here is in one giant parenthesis. So move over, so you can see all of that. I, comma, we, he, she, you, we, they, them, him, her, us, it, my, and our. There may be a couple other I've missed. I kind of did this hastily, so apologize for that. But I got most of them there. And these are all your first, second, third person, possessive, non-possessive, singular, and plural. And so what I'm looking for is where Louw-Nida is tagging it as a referential, and also it's coming through as a pronoun, because this is tricky. Because sometimes the who is not specified. Now, if we go to that passage, Logos has done us a great service. If we right-click on that word and we go down to person, we can see who that person is. So this search will find the pronouns. Very cool. The next search is finding the named people. And that's a very straightforward search. It's just Louw-Nida 93.1 through 388. The next one is people in general. This would look like son or brothers. Now again, some things come back like genealogy and so forth, but they're still related to relationships. Mother, father, Pharisees, Sadducees. Notice it's just people in general. These are titles sometimes, or a role that someone is, or just general crowds. I've also created a special search for God and supernatural beings. So here you get the Spirit, you get the Lord, demons, Son. I don't think Christ comes back in these. They've got a different tag for those. Now, if you want to search to find everything, all the personal pronouns, all the named people, all the people in general, and all of God and supernatural beings, then we have that super search right here where I've combined it all. And so that search will find everything. Now, let's just keep it simple for this one, and let's just do God and supernatural beings. I'm just going to run that search. Now, you'll notice that when you run a search with Louw-Nida, you have the option to make a filter. Now, you can do this two ways. You can manually create a filter one-off, or what I've done ahead of time is I've already created a visual filter. And this one I've shared at the website, so that should work for you to download. And what I've done is I've copy and pasted the rule in here. So here's how I got there. Documents, and then I went to visual filters. Document, visual filters. I gave it the name 0-Louw-Nida: 5 W's and an H. Now, very important you do this. I chose a small book of the Bible, Jude. Don't choose your whole Bible. And I chose one specific Bible translation. Don't choose all Bibles. Here's why. Using the Louw-Nida in this way is very taxing on Logos. In fact, I had all of these in one giant visual filters, and it practically crashed my computer. So that was a very painful mistake because I had to redo it all and break them down into separate sections. So I highly recommend that you create separate visual filters for each of these categories. Don't put them all in one. It will be a problem. And don't select the whole Bible, and don't select multiple Bibles. This will keep it as efficient as possible. And then only turn on and turn off the visual filters as you need them. You do not want them all on. It's just too much information. So we'll go through this process of doing it. So instead of clicking on Make Filter, which certainly would work, if you click Make Filter, it'll populate the Louw-Nida number in there, and then all you have to do is select your particular formatting highlight style. But we're not going to do it that way. I've created a special visual filter, and I've put all these key questions in there. Who, what, where, when, why. Notice I've got two types of whys. We'll talk about that in a minute. And all I did was just copy and paste that Louw-Nida number right in there. And that will make it possible for you to ask these questions. Wow. Now this makes it very powerful, because now, let me go ahead and close my search. Let me open up my New American Standard Bible. Let me go to the book of Jude. And let me show you where you can turn the visual filters on and off. You'll notice that there is a little bit of a delay, and that's normal for Logos with all these visual filters. Now, the three colored circles to the right of the Bible verse, that represents where you can turn on and turn off the visual filters. So you can see now that I've got my Jude there, and it's telling me who is in there. So if I click on the three circles, if I scroll down, I'll eventually come to the visual filters. Notice how my Louw-Nida is first listed there because I put a number in front of it. So that's why I have the 0, the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4. So it shows up in my list in the same spot, first place to go. and it's a great little reminder. So now as I read and observe, I can see who's being talked about. Who? So Jude. Now, I could then right-click on Jude, click on person, do Bible facts, and away we go. But look at brothers come up there. Now, if I right-click on brother, Logos tells me who it is. So this is a great visual way to tell you, stop, there's a person here, find out who they are, and go from there. And the beauty of it includes all those personal pronouns. Very, very cool. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that one off and scroll down. And so I'm going to turn off that one. There we go. Let's go to the next one in the personal book. So that takes care of the who. You can also search on the what. And this is the results. The therefores, the so's, the thens. Louw-Nida, again, is discriminating for us in a good way because therefore can be used a lot of different ways, or the word so can be used a lot of different ways. We have so as a result. We have so as a purpose. And we have to know the difference. And if we don't know the Greek and Hebrew to tell the difference, that's going to make our life difficult, and that's where Louw-Nida comes in handy. We can run the search on the therefore. In fact, let's just go back to